And
This meeting is being recorded.
yes, got it. Thank you. And I primarily focus on environmental news. Cover green spaces, urban nature in the San Antonio area. And I'll be honest, I did not think I was going to become a board member when I put my name in the hat.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
Well, it's good to be here.
Where are you located, Chris?
San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio. Okay.
Yeah. So a little town that grew into a big town and is still dealing with a lot of the issues of urban nature, if you will, and not doing it well all the time. So that's kind of my beat is like you said, covering green spaces, urban nature, the issues that go along with that, like litter, graffiti, dealing with urban wildlife. We get a big issue right now with one of our parks has a bird issue. And so you've got activists on one side who say don't do anything to the birds. And of course the city is like, yeah, we want to get the birds out of that area because they're impacting the environment. And so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you. We're happy to have new faces on the board. We're excited about that, for sure. I can get with you maybe later, Chris, and just kind of give you a sort of a rundown of who everybody is. I won't do it all now, like have everybody introduce themselves again. Solomon is not coming tonight. He's just started school. He thinks this is the last meeting he'll have to miss. His professor's not buying it, that he's actually in meetings. So he's like, it's a dog ate my homework type of thing. So I'm like, well, I'll send him an email and let him know. And Stephanie was planning on being here, but her father-in-law, I think there was an accident. She's going to the hospital to see him at 6:30 tonight. So she couldn't be here. Just really quickly, if anybody has their calendars out, does March 8th work for the next meeting? It's a Wednesday at 6:30. I just want to know who's available, and I'll ask Stephanie and Solomon.
It works for me.
It does. Okay. Anyone?
Yes,
Anyone not available?
it's good for me. Wednesdays and Fridays are good.
Perfect. Okay. Great. Okay.
And
So
the later time is good for me also.
yeah, we'll stick to the 6:30 Eastern time for now, as long as it's working for everybody. I want to jump right into the newsletter. I want to introduce, I don't know if all of you know Hanan. I met Hanan at the conference this year. She's amazing. She is the editor of the new editor of our newsletter now. She's been doing this, and I think we've worked out some sort of things that were frustrating, for lack of a better word, for Hanan. Hanan, my jobs are coming to you much later tonight, but they will be there tonight. So we just upped the deadlines for a lot of the things because we were getting things to her late on Friday, and then Hanan was having to spend her weekend doing this, and that's not fair, especially in a volunteer position. So I've moved the deadline. If you are ever asked to do something for the newsletter, or hey, make sure you get this in for the newsletter. Oh, we want to promote this. Get it in by Wednesday. The only exception to that is the Facebook and newsletter section of the new Facebook and Twitter section of the newsletter. And Friday at 10 a.m. is the deadline for that. And that's something that Hanan agreed to and thought was great, because Facebook and Twitter is a little bit more, yeah, you can't put something in that's a week old, really. So anyway, that's that. I'm going to let Hanan introduce herself and just kind of talk about the newsletter a little bit.
Yes, thank you so much, really, for just being part of this group. And just working on the newsletter was an interesting experience. I enjoy it. And even though I started the whole role just to help when Hazel had, surgery. And so it was, I thought it will be just a 2-week thing, but it continued, and I really enjoy being part of the group. I started in August, I think. Yes, I think in August 2022. And I like that everyone is participating. Everyone sends a part of the newsletter, and I try really to start as early, like start and having like let's say Wednesday I'll start the newsletter, just the bones, or what can I say, like just putting everything together. And on Thursday and Friday, I'll try maybe sometimes to start checking the links. I check the facts, I check the spelling, and I check the AP style. Sometimes the name, the titles are like, if you can just make, when you send me the material, just as much as you can, it makes it easier for me. But that's all what I do. And then I know Dana is a friend of mine who she also a member of the Society of Professional Journalists, but she never been really active with the group. So when she's somehow interested in connecting with journalists. Her experience come from the communications world. She worked as a communications director for a nonprofit for the county. It's the main nonprofit that supports the arts in Fairfax County, and they receive usually grants from the government, and all the resources from the government to the local artists in Fairfax comes through them. So when I was with the Fairfax County Times, the arts and entertainment editor, I reach out to them. They called Arts Fairfax, and she was there, the director. So when I reach out to her, I asked, would it be okay to send me an article every month sharing the resources with our readers? So she used to send me every month an article, and this is how our relationship started. Right now, she's not a communication director. She's a mother of two, and she's trying to get involved, and she's figuring out her next step. So when she knew about the opportunity, she told me, like after a week of thinking, she said she's interested and she wants to try it. And this is how it started.
Great. So that's Dana. And then Cindy, have you talked to Cindy yet at all? Cindy
No,
Alexander?
No,
Okay.
I did not talk to Cindy.
Okay. And I got Cindy Alexander reached out to us, and she then was going on a week-long vacation. So I didn't prioritize that. So I've just gotten that name to Hanan, but she should be back by now, I think. So we're hoping that this coming week, probably not by this Friday. Dana might, though. Dana might have something for you, Hanan, by Friday. But if Cindy doesn't, then I think that's understandable, and I think they'll be ready to go for next week. I think that might mean that Hazel is doing that this week. I'm not sure.
Yes,
You're on mute, Hazel. I'm just gonna ask Hazel to unmute. For some reason, I don't know why it's not working for some people. Okay. So the other, hi, Hazel.
Hi guys, sorry I was late.
That's okay.
Which one was Cindy going to do?
I just put them Facebook and Twitter. I don't know. And I think they should pick, and whichever one, it doesn't matter to me. If you want to, Dana, I think was sort of, I don't know if Dana volunteered first or Cindy. If you want to give them a choice, Hanan, that's totally up to you.
Yes, honestly, this week specifically, so many things happened that I wasn't able to communicate directly yet, but I'll send an email to both of them.
Okay. You could just ask if one of them's more comfortable with either social media more than the other. And if they're both comfortable with both, I think you could just.
Yeah, I'm sure Dana is comfortable.
Okay. Because some people, I'm very comfortable with Facebook. I hate Twitter. So some people might have that kind of feeling about it. But that brings me to the next thing, the Facebook and Twitter section of the newsletter. I think there are differing opinions on what that should look like and what that should be. And I think we should have a small discussion about what we want that to be in our newsletter. And I'm gonna let, I think Susan and Hazel and Hanan go with this one, because I think they both have opinion, or all three have opinions on this.
You don't want to hear from Loki? I don't have a choice. Sorry, guys. Susan, do you want to go first?
You're on mute.
Yeah, you guys can go first. That's fine.
Okay. I'll try to summarize where Susan and I have, I think, a difference in opinion about the Facebook and Twitter sections of the newsletter. I set up this newsletter, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago now. Has anybody been getting it 3 years? I think
That
so.
sounds about right.
Yeah. And the idea was this: we have people who are members of the freelance community, like they signed up. They're not only SPJ members, but they went to the website and signed up and said, I want to be part of the freelance community. But they're not on Facebook and they're not on Twitter. And they don't spend every day in the pitching guidelines database, and they don't spend every day looking for the other things that we collect that are our resources that we offer. And the idea behind the newsletter was, just because they don't want to be on Facebook or Twitter doesn't mean that we shouldn't apprise them of things that those resources offer. That we ought to, because they're members, let them know that this person went on Twitter and asked for pitches about something, or that this fellowship has finally posted its deadline for 2023, or that we know about this job, that this regular gig for freelancers. And so the idea behind the weekly newsletter was to let people know, people who are members know that we know about those things. There's an ancillary, to me, an ancillary benefit, which is that we can drive people who want to be on Twitter to our Twitter feed and have more followers. We can have people go to our Facebook and join our Facebook group, and then we have more members there. But to me, that's the ancillary reason. And I think Susan had a different view of it. Did I get that right, Susan?
I mean, pretty much. To me, especially on the social media stuff, instead of posting the article that was posted on Twitter, I would rather post the link to the Twitter post to drive people to our social media outlets. And if they want, then they can click through. So that's where our difference is and it's also when you post the direct links to stuff so that they don't have to go to Twitter and they don't have to go here, we're still telling them about it. But when you post direct links, then they're like, well, I don't need to join. I don't need to follow. Yeah. So it kind of devalues what we're doing there.
What I understood from Hazel is that some people really, they don't want to be on Facebook, for example. Like that's what, and what I understood too, that if you are not on Facebook, you are not allowed to access the links. So to respect them, their choices, we agreed probably having whatever is on Facebook, having the links for it is fine. because we don't want to force them to be on something they don't want it.
But with that argument, then should we be posting like, oh, they're asking a question about this on Facebook, because you're driving them to the Facebook discussion, which they can't get to.
So, I mean, the discussion they can just read. I think they were.
No, they can't if they're not on Facebook.
Right.
Right.
Whereas Twitter, if you have a link to something on Twitter, I don't think you have to be like, if you have the Twitter link, I don't actually think you need a Twitter account to get to see that.
That's correct.
No, you don't. If you got the links to Twitter, you don't have to have a Twitter account to see what is posted.
Yeah.
So on Twitter, which means we don't have to. I mean, we have more freedom with Twitter, right? We can.
Yes.
That's kind of funny. But,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because on Facebook you have to be a member of the Facebook group to see anything in that in those pages. And that's usually where there's some links on Facebook, but it's usually links to discussions.
Okay.
Which you would have to be on Facebook to be. So
I'm just going to jump in and just
Yeah.
make sure that it wasn't misunderstood when you said, oh, that's kind of funny.
it's kind of funny in terms
Susan
of
was
like
talking
Elon Musk
about,
and all
because
that
she's
stuff.
like, oh, we have freedom on Twitter, and obviously Elon Musk is controlling Twitter to the nth degree.
Yeah.
So that's what Susan
That
was
just-
talking about. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that everybody is clear that
Sorry,
that's
my
That's
my
what
yeah, my dark sense of humor.
I was right
I
with you
understand.
there. Dark light in between, I was right with you.
But yeah, so I mean,
One other thing I'd just like to mention is that I know a lot of people who are members of our Facebook group, but they don't go there all the time. And so if we tell those members that there was a discussion about bidding sites on Facebook, and they say, oh, I really would like to read that,
yeah,
then they can go to Facebook. I mean, that seems to me to make sense. And so including those links in the newsletter allows our members who are on the Facebook but don't go there a lot to just get straight to what they want to know about.
What about something that might be kind of a compromise between the two positions? What about having the Facebook section of the newsletter say something like, here are some of the conversations relevant to freelance journalism that we noticed in Facebook this past week that might be a reason for you to either join or follow it more regularly, and not post the links. One of the things I'd be worried about, I have no idea what Facebook's policy is, but do they allow reposting and sharing links from their own posts? Like if I post something to Facebook about figuring out rates for freelance journalism projects,
Right.
and we put that link in the SPJ freelance community newsletter, is that allowed?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know what their
It
policy
is.
is.
I haven't done this when I was in the Army. Yes, that's allowed. At first I thought you were asking about reposting in Facebook, which is.
No, I'm
depending-
asking about putting a Facebook link in our non-Facebook newsletter.
oh,
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah, Facebook
My,
allows that.
my issue isn't that. My issue is bypassing. So like, let's say on Twitter, instead of saying retweeted an article about blah, 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 or retweeted whatever, totally bypassing that and saying, here's the article. So
Wait,
that
that's
all
your
of the work
issue.
that is
That's
done
your
on
issue,
Twitter
right?
means nothing because we just skip it and just throw it in the newsletter anyway.
That's your issue, though, you're saying. You're
That's
saying.
my issue.
Yeah. I have to say that when I think we should all voice where we fall on this. I do fall on Susan's view rather than posting the whole thing. tell them a little bit about it to go see it. Even the people who dislike Facebook, I would say a lot of people who dislike Facebook or Twitter still have an account. I'm a great example of that. I don't use Twitter, but I have an account and I click through and I'll read Twitter. Sometimes I stalk it for 2 hours and then I'm like, oh, I hate this. What am I doing? So I think there are a lot of people like that, a lot more than are the ones who absolutely have no social media accounts at all. And if they don't have any Twitter or Facebook account at all, do they really? So then they just don't get that section. I mean, they get it, but they won't benefit from that section of the newsletter. And I don't think that the handful of people that might not have an account on Facebook to click through, I just don't think that they're going to see something. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say if they're not on Facebook or Twitter anyway, they wouldn't see it anyway. It's not gonna make them sign up for Facebook or Twitter anyway, so they just happen to get this discussion from us or this article from us. But we're going to all of this, we're making our newsletter much longer. We're going to all of this conversation right now just for that handful of people. I'd be interested to know how many people actually don't have a Facebook account, but I know that's too hard to figure out. But anyway. That's my thought on it. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in.
TikTok gets into a whole other thing for me, but like, and if they don't have a Twitter account, you can still, again, you don't need a Twitter account to see Twitter.
Yeah.
But
So
this
it's really just Facebook we're talking about.
and this is what I understood. Yes, I mean, last week when I discussed with Hazel, she said she thinks it's fine to share a direct link to Twitter, but with Facebook, it's different because Facebook doesn't allow them, but since Twitter allow them, even if they are not members, so there is no problem with sharing direct links to Twitter, right? But with Facebook, it's an exception because they don't allow those people to access. So we said, okay, maybe with Facebook, we'll share direct to the link, direct to the article, but with the Twitter, we'll share to the Twitters, to the social media.
You know, there are different kinds of content in our Facebook group too. Sometimes, for instance, there'll be a post to a link to Ruth's blog that had a really interesting post in it. And I think sharing that link to her blog tells people, well, you missed this on Facebook, but here it is. You really want to read this because it's important.
Well, of course, everything I do is important.
I know. But that's different from sharing a link to the discussion about the bidding sites or the discussion about rates. We've had both of those recently. And I think that sharing those links helps people who didn't see it. Who are members.
So maybe since they're not all articles, let's say, we can still do the links to those where it drives people to, here's this Facebook post about this and people's responses, and those are still links. But then when there's some really good article that we know would be of value that some people without Facebook can get, and I don't think that would necessarily be an every week thing. So maybe as the compromise, it's okay, we think this is really important. And Hanan, as the editor, you make that decision. This is an important article. And whoever, Cindy or Dana, you work with them. If Cindy or Dana think, hey, this is really good, I really think this is important to share, make sure everybody gets it, not just Facebook users. Maybe that's how we, and Twitter stays the same. Twitter, what Susan's suggesting, just are only links. And the other Facebook bits that we highlight are just the links as well. But if it's an article that we really want to get out, I mean, I think that sounds pretty good if we're, and mistakes will be made.
So then here's thought on, like, what if that Facebook article spawned a discussion in the Facebook group?
If you're not on Facebook, you don't get it.
That's how it goes.
Right.
How it goes.
I mean, if you want to read a Facebook discussion, you have to be on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's my viewpoint. My viewpoint is the reason why I think it should be to the social media links is that it's like, hey, by not being on Facebook, this is what you're missing out on. This is why you should sign up for this
Yeah.
to be part of our group.
And someone
So
could
I view
sign
it
up,
differently.
someone could join Facebook primarily or solely to have access to those conversations, because we don't have a community blog where those things could be discussed. That
Right.
could be something to think about for the future.
Uh,
We have our own
We-
SPJ FC blog, and then something that
used
comes
to.
up in Facebook could jump into our own outlet.
I
But
will say that the people who I've run into who do not use Facebook and don't have Facebook, it is not just like, oh, I just don't want to bother with it. I'll give you an example. Ruth Nasrullah, who's the president of the Houston chapter, is adamantly principal will not be anywhere near Facebook. And that is, there's no changing her mind on that. She's an outstanding journalist and president of the community. She's never going to be on it. And I just feel like some of the people who are, oh, I'm not on Twitter, oh, I'm not on Facebook, are not because of, for principle. So I don't
Yeah.
think they'll necessarily sign up just to, oh, well, I'll just have an account that I won't add friends to, I'll just follow along.
Yeah,
I just
people
think they
who
wanna give
are-
Facebook their-
People who object to things like Facebook and Twitter on principle and Instagram and whatever else, nothing's going to, very little, if anything, is going to convince them to join. So providing that information doesn't harm, it doesn't
Right.
benefit them, it's neutral.
I,
And until or unless we do have our own channel of some sort, that's just, that's when you opt not to participate, then you opt not to benefit.
that's
You
right.
opt not to be harmed, but you also opt not to benefit. That's
But
on.
I also want to just point out that the whole point of the newsletter is, oh, you might have missed this week in the SPJ freelance resources. This is what we have updated, and we say that very clearly in the
Yeah.
newsletter. Here are the things that we touched on this week in our resources. And I would love to hear from 3 silent people. Well, Chris said like 2 sentences. I'd like to hear from Chris and Sergey and Ginny.
So here's my 10 cents worth. I mean, I get the email every week. I look through it, I read it. I mean, if I choose to go to Facebook link, I choose to go to it. And I think people who choose not to go to Facebook are going to choose not to go to Facebook, no matter how you present the information to them.
Yep.
I mean, they're not using Facebook for a reason.
Yep.
You're not going to make them use it.
Should we post whole articles instead of links to Facebook?
No, I think a summary and a link is the way to go. Otherwise, you overload your newsletter.
Right.
I agree with that.
I'll be honest. I want a quick read, a quick glance through what I missed. I don't want to have to wade through a ton of stuff. And if you give me more than a summary on stuff, I'm probably not going to look at it. It's my 10
Sergey, what are your thoughts?
I like the compromise, given that it's not going to be an everyday thing. I mean, I'm not sure how often what would be considered an important discussion. I agree with Chris. I would probably be in his camp in the fact that it's a long read. Why should I read it? But I'm guessing if it is that important, why not go for the compromise? I mean, I'm one of those folks that have the Facebook and the Twitter, and I do not post anything on them, and I rarely go on there, and it's for principal reasons and for free speech and all of that. So I definitely get it, and I also get it for folks who don't want to be part of that community for their own personal reasons. I get it. So I think the compromise should be okay. It seems like it's not going to be an ongoing thing or every issue necessarily. Why not highlight that one article? But I definitely get it, Chris, in terms of the whole, and people can scan and quickly move on past that thing. So I think the compromise, I think, is decent, as long as it's not, I don't know, an everyday thing. I think people can scan. It's, you know, to each their own.
And Ginny, what are your thoughts?
I think we do a great job with the newsletter. Are we weighing in on, I'm not sure what we're weighing in on. I feel like people, as far as social media, I feel like it's a personal preference of which you go to and which information you.
Right. So Ginny, just to recap, what we're weighing in on is, so there's kind of two, I'm going to call them the Susan camp and the Hazel camp. And Susan wants to use Susan suggests using the Facebook and Twitter section of the newsletter, providing links to discussions, things that have happened on Facebook, and driving people to our Facebook account. Same with Twitter, driving people there, giving a short summary, here it is, go check it out on Facebook. And Hazel, I think, is saying some of these things are really important articles. Like Ruth has an article, she shares it on there. This is really good stuff for our freelancers, our 500 plus freelancers. But for the people who don't have Facebook, they can't access that through our just, here's a quick summary and a link, go to it. So Hazel says, well, why don't we put that in the newsletter for the people who don't go to Facebook? So kind of in a nutshell, I know I might be squeezing that into, but so that's the thought is, do we want to just simply do links and, you know, a quick summary and links to Twitter and Facebook and never include the articles? Because if you don't have Facebook, you can't see the articles. Well, too bad, you're not going to see this article then because you don't have Facebook. Or when we feel that an article is really important for our readers, our members, we post the whole thing in our newsletter.
I'd say as a general rule, just do the links unless we feel like there's because if somebody sees that article and they're interested, they'd probably join Facebook or they'd probably go there. And then I'd say as a general rule, I'd probably lean toward the links unless we feel like it's something we should call out occasionally. And I think that's okay to do that too. Like if
okay, and I just want to give Hazel a second to just clarify to make sure I didn't misstate that.
I would never put the whole article into our newsletter. I would do the same summary. The question is, what are you linking to? Are you linking to our Facebook group, which people can't go to read Ruth's wisdom? Or do you put in the link to Ruth's blog, which is a great resource? And let people go to that. That's really where it comes down. But I think that what Hanan and I talked about last week is a good compromise, that we will sometimes link from in the Facebook section, link outside of Facebook to get people to the news about the fellowship that somebody posted, or about a meeting coming up next week. That way, at least they're getting some benefit.
Do we usually have the original source? Like if we have, I know we know Ruth's website, but if we have the original source, I would probably send them there. If we have that, or if we have it.
And I really think that should only be where we think it is super valuable to all of our members. Otherwise, I do think we should drive people to our Facebook website. I think we should drive people to our page. But when it's something that's a big, obviously not discussions and not stuff that's already on Facebook or that's only on Facebook, but when it's an article like, here are the top 15 magazines that pay $1.50 a word or whatever it is, and it was discussed on Facebook, here's the link. Something like that is gonna, every member is gonna care about it. And that I think is a no-brainer to link to the original source. But I don't think we should necessarily make that a habit with all of it.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, and I want Hanan to be really, she is the editor, but I just want her to hear all of our, I think she has heard all of our our thoughts on it, and that I don't know if people want to like take a vote or if we want to just, okay, we'll do it from here and just do this compromise, or
I trust Hanan.
Me too.
okay. Great, Hanan, it's all on you. So
Just what you need.
right. All right, well, that's great. So I'm going to move on from the newsletter. We have another bit I want to talk about, but we're not going to do that this week because it's already 7:14. But that's the length of the newsletter and how long should it be? But I think we need to move on. So I'm going to shelve that one till next month. The SPJ convention is a really big topic too. Does anybody have any new ideas? I'm just going to start there. Does anybody have any new ideas for sessions? If they want to just throw out there, you don't have to give a big explanation of it, but just kind of a quick summary.
I'd love to do something on websites for freelance journalists. We haven't done that in a while, and either separately or as part of that, something about marketing your freelance business.
Oh, I had that. Where did I put that? Oh, I didn't write it in. I had marketing too, so we were thinking the same.
Because
I had actually
I've done both of those topics. Those are some of my favorite things, for what it's worth.
So marketing yourself, websites for freelance journalists, and how do you do that? I still have a big issue with that. With I only do food now, but when I did food and health, like how do you have a website if you cover more than one beat? That is a big question.
That's one of the things I cover.
Right, it's a huge thing. Well, a couple of ideas that I had. One, a pitching, it's not my idea, but we've talked about this before, a pitching clinic, some kind of pitching thing. I think we should think about that. What does that look like? I think Susan is the best one to add her input on that, because Susan has gone to lots of conferences that have had speed pitching, like speed dating and all sorts of pitching fun. I'm not going to put you on the spot and make you come up with an idea right now, but that might be something that we could work together on to come up with an idea.
Yeah, my issue with this is because of my experience with trying to put together previous sessions for this conference. I don't ever want to do it again. So
okay, fair.
Yeah, it hits at a bad time. I'm out of town for half of March. Like,
Sure.
So I don't really want to come up with
March.
ideas, because I don't want to be stuck doing them, because I never want to deal with that
fair.
again.
I totally understand that. But
yeah, I mean, I've been to stuff, well, online where they did like I've been to online ones where they took like ideas ahead of time, like pitching ideas ahead of time, and then had editors go through, like, oh, we wouldn't take this because of whatever, or this is a good pitch because of this or whatnot. And then the other style that I've been to was sort of like the editor meet and greet, where they had editors casually at tables and you could go from table to table pitching editors.
okay.
So,
as you're talking, I was just thinking, because the editor meet and greet will likely be approved. And that's on my list here. That I think that will at the very least be a 90-minute deep dive. We are not going to do it as a longer 3-hour workshop. That's pretty long, but it's also can only be done on Wednesday. I won't be there Wednesday. Most of us won't be there Wednesday. I think
my other idea, and this, I had Susan in mind for helping with it, so maybe you don't want to be bothered, but my other thought was maybe somewhat of a hands-on session about how to do your own podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't,
Because
yeah.
some of us are already doing that and profiting, and I hope profiting from it. And some of us, I know I would love to feel like I know what I'm doing in podcasting and try to do one that might generate a few bucks.
The issue with podcasting is that people think like they could just start one and make a bunch of money.
Well, that's one of the things we could dissuade people about.
yeah, good. Yeah. I'm like, you're like,
Or
good luck
try.
with that. It's like kind of like, so when people are like, well, I'll just have a podcast, it's kind of, to me, it's like somebody saying, well, I'll just publish a magazine.
No, I know, I
Um,
understand that. I'm just saying, this could be a session that starts with disabusing people of that assumption, but we can't control how foolish people might be. For those of us who are serious about it, we could do something, we could almost demonstrate a podcast session. We could talk about the equipment you need. And then we could say, there's no guarantee that this will make you any money, but these are some ways to promote it and try and make money off of it. The main thing would be, here's how to do one. It's just a thought. I mean, we'll have other good
Yeah,
ideas,
yeah.
but that's
No,
my
I think
third
it's
idea.
I think it could, I also think it's a good one to throw out there that there are freelancers doing podcasts. That might seem off limits to a lot of freelancers, like, oh, you've got to have some organization over
yeah,
you to
yeah.
do this, and you can be a freelancer and do this. So something around that. So anyway, to continue on my thought, Susan, what we were talking about with the pitching clinic, we know we assume we're going to do the editor meet and greet, and I would push for a little bit longer than 90 minutes if we do this, but I know I think we're gonna have about 90 minutes instead of an hour, 55 minutes. And I think that we could really drum up some excitement for people who are gonna be there in person with the editors who we know are gonna be there. They could come up with pitches. We can't guarantee that we're gonna get to every pitch, but we just pick 3 or 4 pitches on site there. And if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. We can still fill the time with the editor freelancer meet and greet, but maybe that's a good way to sort of work that in. And if it works, great.
right.
So maybe that's how we can work the pitching into it. The other thought I had, although we don't want any repeat speakers, we're trying to go through all new speakers. So maybe this is for next year, because I think Hazel's really the person to do this one, is the landing fellowships and grants as a freelancer. I don't know if why, Hazel, why do you think that's not? I feel like freelancers don't go after
I
fellowships
agree
and
with you,
grants.
but I'm not the one to do it. I've never.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying, no, that's a terrible idea. Okay.
No, it's a fabulous idea. But
Okay, because I sent you that text the other day. I was like, Hazel, and I just sent you that idea and you never responded. I was like, oh, damn.
Here's
Well,
my
and there
current,
are a number of resources for that. We probably have a couple people in our community who've gotten grants.
Yeah, it'd be
But
great.
there's also there are also at least 2 I can think of. Can't remember the exact names, but there are at least 2 websites with information about grants for writers. There's
I think
poets
that's a brand new one. I think that could be
Yeah.
a good one for us.
I think it'd be great, and it would be very interesting to a lot of colleagues. And we might be able to get even somebody from writers, from poets and writers, to be one of the speakers.
I'm going to
just
put your
my
name next to
current
that. Ruth.
experience with grant, trying to find a grant for a worthy podcast.
No, we could say, oh, that's an idea, Susan. We could say,
all I want is a travel grant. I
Yeah,
will do the
we could-
podcast for free. I think the story is worth it.
we could say,
And here's what I ran into, or I've run into. Which major media outlet are you connected to? Because you cannot get a grant if you're on your own. 2, how many people are going to listen to your podcast?
depends on how you.
I have
promote.
no idea. And 3, what's your budget? Well, if I was paying myself, it would be like $30,000. But for a trip, I just need a couple thousand. But I've run into the issue of multiple grants, that you cannot get the grant unless you have a major outlet that says that they will.
Well, this would be one of the
back
things
you.
to address in such a session. But we could still do a session about resources for there. I think there's an entity even called Grants for Writers. I've got it in my resource list some damn where.
Now, as far as fellowships, I'm super experienced at that, but I was able to use being at a major station and spin that.
Yeah, but
into-
again, we can use aspects of what has or has not worked amongst our group. But I think that's a topic worth offering. And then we give a couple different angles on it. We get people who either give grants or know about granting resources. And then we either include somebody from our group who has succeeded with this and who has not succeeded, or we make the caveats, what doesn't work, part of a Q&A session. But I think the topic itself is great. And I think it would be of a lot of interest among our colleagues. And it's something new that we haven't done before.
Right. And that I was so excited thinking about it. And I'm so happy to know that it was just Hazel didn't want to do it and not, no, it's a terrible idea. So I'm good. I'm glad everybody's like sort of on board with this, because I have often seen that. I'll see, hey, Hazel will send out on Facebook, oh, congratulations to this freelancer and this freelancer for this grant. I'm like, how did freelancers get? I don't know how freelancers get grants.
Well, what we can do is where Hazel would be hugely helpful is we look at a few of our recent newsletters and posts for people who've gotten grants or fellowships, and we make note of who provided them. And I'd be glad to pitch in on this. Contact those entities, find out how you reach them, what they're looking for, make some kind of a handout with that information, and that becomes part of the session.
Yeah. And I think too, just a reminder that these are due in mid-March. But I think that we could piece this. I think it sounds like we're all on board with pitching, especially that's a new idea, pitching this one. I think if we can find a freelancer who's had more than one grant or a fellowship, who's very adept at talking about it and can really convey that information, as well as somebody who's provided a grant or fellowship, I think those would be two great speakers for that. And then we can figure out moderator later, which would be one of us probably. So I think that would be great. I'm just going to put it on our list as one of the however many pitches we decide to send to headquarters.
Yep.
And we can flesh that out later.
Yeah, the one that you haven't mentioned was the imposter syndrome one.
Oh yeah, right. I haven't. I just was
And I
putting
don't know,
ideas
like,
that I had on here. So yes, imposter
Therapists
syndrome I
or
think is a great one.
psychologists in Vegas, I have no idea. But I know that was an idea that had come up that we thought would be
Yeah. Right here.
both people in newsrooms and freelancers deal with it all the time.
That's a good one, because I dealt with that. I mean,
Who doesn't,
I was
right?
an Army officer for 26 years and decided to become a journalist. So
What'd you say?
There's more than one time I woke up and went, I don't think I really deserve to do this.
Wow.
Every time I win an award, I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna find out I don't know what I'm doing.
I
Damn,
deal with
I
it
was
every
like,
day.
I deserve this.
I deal with it every day.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to put that on there. I think that's a good one to pick because that's also a new one. I also think that'll appeal to a lot more than just freelancers, but good. That's, great. Something tells me I'm disappointed to even think about this, but something tells me the rooms might be similar sizes to what they were in DC this year, because Karen and Ashanti have already been talking about doing sessions back to back, the same session, 2 60-minute sessions back to back. And I don't think that they would have talked about that unless they know that the rooms aren't big, can fit a lot of people. Because that was a huge issue at this conference. For those of you who weren't at this conference, standing room only, people couldn't get in. There was a lot of disappointed people. So I like the idea of doing it back to back, but I'm reading between the lines here. I don't know if that's true, but I'm just throwing that out there. So let's put imposter syndrome in there too. That's 2 completely new ones. I like it. And then we'll do the freelancing 101 and then editor meet and greet, which isn't really going to be a session if it's a deep dive. I think we could come up with at least one. I mean, we can come up with 10 more, but we've got to have the time and energy and resources to put those together in the next few weeks. So I'm going to leave you to think about that. The suggestions for speakers, Ruth's already mentioned a couple people that she knows for some of these. I think that's great. Keep those in mind. If you're thinking about it as you're just going through your day, write it down. shoot us an email, anything just to kind of hold that name. I've done that before where I'm like, oh, that person would be a great speaker. And then a month later, I can't remember who it was. Because we have to have speakers. We have to reach this. So some of you, Chris, Hanan, Sergi, you might not know this, that when we pitch these sessions, they're usually due in January, but this year they're due in March because the conference is a little later. We have to have the speakers who are going to be in that session, we have to have them confirmed. So we have to reach out to people now to say, hey, can you speak at this conference in Las Vegas in October? And they have to commit to that, which is hard to do because how do you know your schedule that far out? But we do get people to commit. We have last minute cancellations and replacements. That happens every year. But that's why we're talking about speakers now, because they really want names and confirmation of the speakers for these sessions. And diversity is huge. We don't just want a bunch of white men. Chris, you're great. I'm just saying. So, all right. So, oh, this is a big one, Hazel. I know you said you're there. I'm hoping you can come back to this part. The freelance inbox, I do not have the capacity to do this right now. And I am wondering if there's anybody who has some time floating around in a week who might be able to answer the emails that come into the SPJ freelance inbox. And if we're all sort of in the same boat, which we very well might be, I've just a couple ideas, rotating like a weekly schedule where we've got 5 people who do it, and it's every week we change, right?
What's
How
the
much is coming in? Do you know how much is coming
I
into
haven't even checked it. I have 0 time for my whole life. So I have not checked it at all. Hazel mentioned the other day, she's like, someone needs to go in and check that. And I'm like, oh, I got to go in and check that. I got to go in and check that. And I still haven't gone in to check it. So
I might be able to help out.
Sorry.
Great, Chris.
I might be able
Chris
to
is
help
willing
out.
to help.
I've got a big event coming up on the 18th, but after that, I don't
Okay.
have a lot of plans.
That's great. And I mean, if I don't know how many are coming in right now, if you want to try to tackle it, it could be though that you might not know the answers to some of those things and you have to reach out to us anyway, and that's okay to do that. You know, use us to ask those questions. The other idea I had was having one person each month do it. If you know you've got a lighter month, like, okay, August, I'm not doing anything, I'll do it that month.
I think
or-
once a month or a month at a time is more manageable than a week at a time.
I
because
agree.
there are switches.
Yeah, I agree. I
I'm
just
glad
wanted
to
to make
help.
sure, I just wanted to throw that out there just in case someone's like, oh, I can't do a whole month, but I can do every few weeks. But I do agree the month at a time seems
It's a
more
lot
manageable.
easier to manage.
But Chris, if you want to take a stab at it and just see if it gets to be overwhelming for you, then we can do the 1 month at a time. But if it's a couple a week and you're okay with just remembering, my issue is remembering to check it. I'm just going to be very transparent. I don't remember to check it.
Yeah, and until I look at it and see what kind of like traffic it's getting.
Okay,
I can't tell you. Like I said, I have a big event coming up on the 18th.
sure. Okay.
Stacy, between now and the 18th, I can look at it and see what's backed up.
Great.
So if you want to send me the access information.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, Ruth. It's actually in the access information. It's in the admin folder in our board folder on Google.
Can you just send it to me?
I'll just send it to you. You're like, oh, I don't want to go look for that. Okay, I'll get it to
I just
you.
spend half the damn day in Google Docs, which
I understand. I'll send it to you. Okay, let me say, send this to Ruth.
Thank you.
Okay, and the only thing I want to say about this, we need to make, I don't need to say this, but I'm going to say it. We just need to make sure that we respond very professionally. And even if it's a question we've answered 100 times before, it's right here, like, just look.
God damn it, stop bothering me.
Right, just make sure we're answering very friendly.
God damn it, use your brain. Use your dictionary.
Right, so we can't do that.
Oh,
So we
leave
gotta
us
be
alone.
as friendly and as cordial and as nice and as,
I can do that.
you know, you might put an exclamation point in there too.
Nah,
just
No
to, like,
explanation points.
hey.
So we
All
can't
right,
do the
that's
whole,
pushing it.
hey,
That's
let
too
me
far
Google
for-
this for you.
Right.
No telling them to go to Google on their own. No.
Right.
These are
Exactly.
often people who will not do that no matter how easy it would be.
Right.
I
And
can
if there is
handle that,
anything
Stacy.
that
I
you-
can be nice.
Perfect. If there is anything that you can't answer but like Ruth, from now to the 18th, I'm sure you can, but if Chris, if there's anything you run into that you're not sure about, or you don't even know what they're asking because you're new in this board, send it to me and I'll help you out.
Yeah, and if
Um,
I've never looked, but if there's notifications in there about like messages in Twitter, I often will be in my own Twitter account and I will like message stuff to the SPJ freelance Twitter account and then post it from there. So if there's that, then we'll have to go into Twitter and figure out how to turn off notifications because it's probably every
Okay.
other day there's stuff that I'm
Okay,
emailing.
we can figure that out once
Okay.
we see what's in there.
But I have no idea what's in there, so I don't know, but just be warned.
My
I don't
guess is
either.
that a lot of it is spam.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked at it and it's terrible that I haven't, but I haven't.
Now, go ahead and send it to me, Stacy, and I'll get us
Okay.
started. And
Okay,
then I
thanks.
can also let the rest of the group know what kind of stuff we get. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
99 point crap, sorry, I'm having a very long day and I'm not
I
feeling.
no, yeah, I agree.
If it's a Nigerian prince who sent you $1 million, please let us know.
Oh, absolutely. And I promise to share.
So, okay, so that's taken care of for now. I'm sorry, I can't take that on at the moment. I just can't. The membership, Sergi, do you have a membership update?
So I apologize beforehand for the super imprecise membership report. I did get the latest membership roster from Crystal. The last amazing report was handed to me by Hazel. So that was on December 5th. I had the Excel, I sent it on to Stacy, and I am not proficient in Excel, and I'm pretty sure there is a way more efficient way of looking at information. I did Control F, and unfortunately I went line by line, and by last count, it was over 30 members, and I know there's much more. I just need to be able to find a way to work with Excel to be able to pull out the information, and I guess I'll be knocking on Hazel's email door. to
30
say,
new
"Help
members
me."
since last count, since January?
It was, yeah, over since no, the last report that I reported was in December 5th. The last roster that
Okay.
was December 5th. So at last count was over 30 new members. And I'm just counting.
January 6th.
Yeah, I'm counting from January. So what I did was I did Control F 2023, and it was just pulling up. I was going line by line by line. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there's much more. I just need to figure out a way to work with Excel. And I sent
Well,
that. I'm sorry, Hazel.
If it can be uploaded to the
Google Drive.
Drive, then I'm happy to look at it, and I can walk you through at some point, Sergi, how to
Please.
go through it and what to look for.
Please, I'll update that. I'll upload that to Google Drive. And I did see some members will be expiring soon, and I wanted to talk about it. I'm not sure what usually happens.
And that is a
Membership.
question I had. We
Their
talked a little bit
memberships will expire, not the members.
Oh, Lord.
Right.
That's
Hopefully.
important, right?
Hopefully.
Minor detail there, folks.
We see you've expired.
Yeah.
So that,
Please
yes,
That's important.
communicate from the grave.
sending the
That's
reminders.
important.
And Sergi, you might want to do this once a month. I'm not sure how this was done before. I was not
Right,
involved
and
with this.
I reached out to Hazel, and she did say that once a month, just kind of knock on Crystal's door, and that's what I did. So the
Okay.
roster she sent out to me is from February on, and
Okay.
the one prior to was December. So I'll be including, I guess, December 5th. I'm not sure, but I'll be working with Hazel to give you some precise numbers. From now on.
Okay.
I just don't know what I'm
So
doing.
that is, so the follow-ups for expired membership, that is all happening now. I just wanted to make sure that that is happening or will happen.
I'm not sure what you guys do prior when a membership is expiring, but I did notice that there were memberships starting to expire
Okay.
by the end of this month at least.
Do
So I'm
we
not
have
sure
a
what the process
template,
is.
Hazel, that we sent out to members who?
Unfortunately, until we got Crystal, we didn't trust the rosters that we were getting.
Okay.
And
Well-
we decided at some point, Hillary and I decided not to reach out to people because we didn't trust the dates that we were getting.
Okay.
And SPJ itself does let you know when you're, I know it lets you know that you need to renew your membership because I just got my reminder. It
Yeah, I
doesn't,
just got my reminder too.
but I don't think they do anything other than that. It's going to expire any minute. I don't think they do a series of reminders. I think it's
No,
just,
I think they don't also. The other question is whether we should be reaching out to people who have joined for the first time and say, welcome,
Welcome.
glad you're here. Have a
Yeah,
look.
well, we've got, Hazel, to touch on that,
Department.
we just kind of skipped over that part, but I suggested that last month. And Ginny and Sergi worked together and Ginny wrote a welcome letter. Ginny,
Apparently that's
do you want to
something
tell us
that,
about the welcome letter?
well, we didn't work together, but Hazel had suggested, she said, look in the membership folder.
Mhm.
Which I understand was not going in there. It's a beast in there, but it is clearly marked, the membership folder, and Ginny has a template there already. And I know Stacey had mentioned something short and sweet, and I kind of emailed you before the meeting and I said, I don't know if we should reinvent the wheel, because it seemed like it had pretty much everything. I checked the links, they appeared to be pretty much up to date. And I'm not sure whether you want to just move with that. It seemed pretty concise. I'm not sure what you guys are looking for, but I thought it was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, and I am okay with just looking that over and just we can go forward with it, but if everybody on the board wants to look it over first, that's fine too. It's up to you guys. Chris is like, no.
well,
I
you
I
gotta
know
know,
you
my
mentioned you
stuff
wanted a pitching guidelines to there, if I'm not mistaken, and that is part of what Ginny had there, so it's already there.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, to have that information in there, I think is great. I'm going to be honest, I skimmed it. I have not read the whole thing because I just saw it from you today, Sergi. So I haven't, Ginny, thank you for doing it. But I haven't read the whole thing yet. But if we could send it to our editor. Look at her smile. Does she know who we're talking about? We can send it to Ruth. Ruth, if you want to
Yeah.
just do a quick edit, Ruth, of it. If
I
you're
can
up
look
for
at it tomorrow.
Okay, so Sergi, do you want to email that to Ruth? And I'll read it
Sure.
tonight and just make sure there's nothing, oh, let's add this, or maybe we don't need this or whatever. Just, and I can work with you
Sure.
too, Ginny, on that if there's any changes.
I'll do that.
All right. So that's that. Programming, our Stephanie Bernava, I mentioned her family, she had a family emergency tonight, so she's not here. Our first program was going to be our Meet the Board. Let's talk about volunteer opportunities. Pretty straightforward, fairly easy. Solomon, Stephanie, and I talked last week at length about this. We've got a good, Stephanie's already working on it. She's a graphic designer too. So she's going to come up with some of that, maybe not for this one, but for some of the future programming that we have. It was
It's
slated for
scheduled
the,
for February 28th. We have
Yep.
got to get going on promoting it.
it is, yeah, we are promoting it. So we can't until I get the agreement from everybody that we can move it, because I don't want we would have promoted the wrong date. I cannot do it on the 28th. Absolutely cannot do it on the 28th. It is a meet, that would not be a big deal, except it's a meet the board meeting. And I just wanted to know if we push it one more day, which is a Wednesday, which seems to work well with everybody anyway, is there anybody who cannot make March 1st?
I don't have anything on my calendar right now.
Okay, so if you haven't said anything, that I'm going to take it to mean that you can make March 1st
What
work.
time?
It's 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 for you.
And that's
should be
usually
okay. I've
Stacy an
got-
hour, or how much
Yeah,
time? do you-
I blocked it out for 2 hours, but I
2
think an
hours.
hour. Yeah, I did block it for 2 hours. For some reason, I couldn't do I wanted to do 6:15 so we could get in there before it starts at 6:30, but I can only block 6 or 6:30, and that's different from last month when I tried to set meetings. So I don't know what that's about. So I blocked it for 6:30. We can still get in there a little bit early. I did today. I got in 10 minutes early. Also, for those of you who are waiting in the waiting room, I just want you to know my dinger bell didn't work. And so I had to remember to keep looking, but also I could not let you in. I was trying, I clicked on Hazel probably 30 times before I could let her in. I was saying admit, 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 then I'd give it a break. I don't know what happened. So that's for Ruth, Susan, Hazel. So I'd like to avoid those kinds of issues. So we do need to get in there a little bit early. So if we can agree on the 1st, Stephanie can start doing this right now. She has worked on the language this week. That's what she's been doing. So she should be able to start this week. We talked about putting it in the newsletter, Facebook, Twitter. I told her that she could post herself to Facebook. I said, you don't need to be an admin, just go in and post it to Facebook. Yeah. For Twitter, should she send it to you, Susan? Okay, so I'm gonna have her send it to you. And then where else do we need it? We're on our website. Who do we send that to? Hazel, you're on mute.
And the newsletter.
Just the newsletter?
The newsletter
and
and
the
a
newsletter.
verb for leads. If you want it to go in SPJ leads.
And who do we send that to for SPJ leads? I haven't done that
Oh,
yet.
God. Well, I don't know. I used to always.
Zoe.
Is it Zoe now? Okay.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
I think they just did hire a new communications person too, Kim.
Yes.
I haven't met her yet, but maybe her, maybe both of those.
Okay. And I'll talk to Stephanie hopefully sometime this week about, just in the next day or two, about reaching out, letting her take the charge, reaching out, who do I need to send this to in SPJ for SPJ leads. She'll send something to you, Susan. I'll have her post on Facebook. This is all going to happen ASAP. Hanan, if we get that to you by Friday at 10 a.m., this Friday at 10 a.m., can that go in our newsletter?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to say to Hanan, Friday.
Can I get to look at it before it goes anywhere?
Yeah, we hadn't discussed that, but I
Suggested.
Great. That's great. Okay, great. So programming, just to sort of quickly touch on some of the ideas. So I'm still counting March 1st as February 28th. Just pretend it's February 29th. So we did a program in February. So
we could do it at like 1 minute till midnight or something.
Seriously, so we'll do that. That's our February meeting. And then the programs, and if Stephanie was here, she'd be talking right now. But we had talked about doing social programs so that we actually really can meet every month. If we didn't, it's not a huge deal, but the social laid back happy hour, let's just get together and talk. We're going to be an every other month thing. We might miss a month, but I have those slated as March, May, July, September, November, which I think is good because the conference falls right between September and November. July, everybody's doing, especially those of us with kids, we're not going to be there. March, I think those are good months for the social, less formal things. Some of the other ideas, I do think we should try to pull off a virtual editor meet and greet, editor freelancer meet and greet. That's going to fall on me. I'd like to propose that for June. The business of freelancing, a taxes program, what Ruth talked about, I think that would be a great one. We got to figure out what month we want to do that. I also think moving mediums would be a good topic for one of these monthly virtual programs, rather than, maybe we could pitch it again for the conference, but maybe rather than pitching it for the conference, doing it here. Anybody else have any ideas for these monthly meetings? I'm just going to pass them along to Stephanie. So I haven't told her these ideas yet.
I'd love to see the how to do a podcast as one of our programs through the year, other than at the conference.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm going to put that in there. And then next month when Stephanie is back, she can kind of go through, she can talk about some of these, and if she has any, she and Solomon have any. Did I tell you Solomon? Oh, yeah. Okay. He just couldn't be here tonight. But Solomon's working very closely with Stephanie on this.
Good.
So I think that's great that they're working together. Ruth was updating on your own guide. I think there's been some
Oh.
hiccups with that. There's some issues, I think, with the
There's
format.
no real issues other than that I've just been swamped, which is,
Okay.
I'm not complaining. That's just life.
Mm.
Hazel found this resource called Manula that I like and I seem to be able to use. And my only question, Hazel, is they sent me a notice about the trial running out. So I'd like to go ahead and make that something that we actually pay for. And I don't know how to do that. So
Yeah.
maybe
we're
you and I could talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I thought we would talk tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon would be great.
If you're gonna talk tomorrow afternoon, I'm just gonna
Wait,
throw this
no,
out.
wait.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a meeting with Karen Sneed tomorrow.
Oh,
Friday?
you
Friday would work better.
All right, Friday, I'm good all afternoon. I'd say anywhere after 1 o'clock Central, which is 2 o'clock Eastern.
Okay.
And if you're gonna meet, I'm just gonna throw this out there that I'm carrying this over from Hillary from last year, but Hillary and I talked about this and she, her suggestions is that we need to modernize it, not just update it, but we need to make it more modern. What are the industry trends in journalism? We need to, I'm not sure if she talked to you about that, Hazel, but
Yes.
she did. Okay. So industry trends, what's going on, what's new in journalism, really bringing, because I think that it's easy. We've created a great document and then 5 years go by and it's good still, but things have
Okay.
changed. So we got to update it. So,
Okay, all right.
so that's I'm just sort of passing that along. The freelance fund, I want Hazel to give us an update on this. We have the freelance fund committee was Hazel. Hillary was on that committee. She's not going to be on the committee anymore. It's Hazel, Susan, and I right now.
Yep.
I spoke with, and I'm going to, Hazel, I think will add, I don't know if she'll add more to this part, but more on the fund. I spoke with April Batia. I'm not sure how to say her
Bethia.
name. Okay. On January 29th, I had a long conversation with her. She's with the SPJ Foundation, and she reached out to us to ask us how they could support us. And I was like, ooh, so.
Oh, good, because
we-
that's the answer to Ruth's question.
Well, we
about-
talked about financial and non-monetary. So we have a freelance fund, and I don't know if, I think we like the ownership of, this is the freelance fund and we're giving you the resources to come to this conference, right?
Yes.
And I even said that to April, not that we would turn any money away, of course we wouldn't, but we can come up with maybe other ways to use it. Maybe they comp some of the admissions, the admission cost. I don't know how that all works, but we talked about that. She's going to go back to her board and speak. I also asked her about non-monetary help, and she suggested providing speakers for any of our programming, whether that's our monthly programming or in person. I think we should 100% use that because we're always struggling to find speakers. And let's just say, hey, we're doing this. Who do you suggest? Or we'd like to propose this. Who do you suggest? And just let's tap that as a resource. And I think she suggested that actually. So, so as we're gathering speakers or thinking about speakers for our sessions, let's remember that. And I can give you April's contact information, or you can just shoot it to me and I'll send it to her. If we want it to all come from one person, probably should come from one person. We could do it all as a group email after we figure out what we're pitching, what the topics for sure. Then I can say, hey, do you have any speakers that would be good on these?
Excuse me, Stacy, I'm gonna have to go. I'm about to keel over here, so I will.
Okay.
Okay. I will talk to Hazel on Friday. I will look for the email access from
password.
you tonight or tomorrow,
Perfect.
but I gotta go.
Okay. I hope you feel better, Ruth.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
So back to the freelance fund, one of the things that I'm hoping that the committee will do is work out a a mini grant kind of program. I think.
Wait,
that-
our freelance fund, a mini
Our
grant.
freelance
Okay.
fund, yes. I mean, we'll do the fellowship again. We had great fellows last year. Now we have one of them on our board. Very good. But I think the fellowship worked out pretty well. I think there were, we had some last minute questions about who was coming to the conference. And so some things fell through the cracks about the fellowship. And I think that we learned a lot and we'll do better next year.
Yeah, ours our first year.
And the
Especially
and
right after
finances, the financial stuff got screwed up a little bit. And a lot of that is because SPJ was just totally unstaffed on the financial. And it was difficult, and I'm still waiting to get the full accounting from headquarters about how much we spent on the fellowship program, and also how much we have in the fund right now, because we've gotten some donations during the year. So we have to see how much money there is, but I think I don't want to, just use it for the fellowship. The whole idea was, how else can we help freelancers? And I think a mini grants program is a good idea. And so I'm hoping to meet with Stacy and Susan.
Yeah, and I
Sometimes
also think that
forced
might
to
open it
this
up, the mini grants could open it up to people who might not feel like they would qualify for a full fellowship, like, maybe they're doing well in freelancing and they're all, who knows. But it could help the people who have a year that's not quite as great as before, or they're different, they have a flooded house with asbestos in their floors. You know what I mean? So
asbestos on your floor. Oh no.
oh yeah, we got problems. So it's all shut off right now. So so there, I don't need a mini grant. I'm just saying, like, that there's people where things come up that, I was planning on going to the conference and my kids had surgery, I can't go now. So where they are encouraged to apply no matter what, not necessarily based, I don't want to say based on need, because it's not, none of it's based on need, let's say, but it's somebody who this would really benefit them. But it's also not just need or merit. It's somewhere in between.
We had 3 fellows at the conference. I have no idea whether any of them would have been able to come if we had not offered the fellowships. I just don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And that's what that's for.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to hear that the foundation would like to work with us, to see how they can work with us, because that might help us. One thing I have in mind is, can we get some reduced conference fees for people who staff the freelance corner?
Yep.
My question, kind of related, is whether we could get a slot or 2 in the silent auction area to be able to, like, if we could get stuff donated, if we could, put
some
that
of our
toward the
stuff.
fellowship fund so that there's money coming in.
Yeah.
Good idea, Susan.
I don't know how we would go about, because there's some really cool like freelance related stuff. There's like, I know this is stupid, but there's like candles of like deadline candles and stuff. Like, there's some really funny stuff that people don't realize is out there, related to freelancing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I will get back in touch, Susan and Stacy, and we will set up a time.
Okay.
that we can talk before Susan goes away.
And
Yeah.
I just to add on to Susan, if we can't get a corner, it might be worth getting some of these things, putting them together, having a raffle or something at the conference ourselves in the freelance corner.
I think
And-
raffles bring in
Yeah.
tax-ish, like it,
Oh,
there's like
okay, I don't know
rules
anything
and
about that.
stuff.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
okay. So
Taxes.
yeah, let's push for
But
the
if we
corner
could
and
like
let's push
latch
for a
on to
spot in the-
something that is already established.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
But
Okay.
anyway, we don't have to hash that out here with the board. I hope the three of us will be able to meet soon, and I've started to flesh
Yep.
out some ideas, and so I will email the two of you and
Okay.
send you a link to the document.
Okay, and I also, after that, I think we should plan on meeting with April and anyone else she wants to bring and have a,
I would
oh, you're frozen.
the issues with the program that that Ruth wants to do the guide is that it does cost money, and in the past I have put the money out for the technology that we use, and there
Yeah.
was provision in the resolution to set up the freelance fund at the foundation for us to be able to access some money from the freelance fund for technology that SPJ would not otherwise be getting.
Okay,
So we can talk about that later.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm happy. Shoot me a,
I will.
shoot us an email.
I'll do it.
Okay, is there any other pressing business issues? Anything that anybody wants to talk about?
Not
No.
recorded.
Oh, all right, and that concludes our meeting. Let me stop the recording.
Okay, let's call the meeting to adjournment then.
Okay.